Hi, this is three things that I'd like to improve on as a voter. The first thing that I've noticed about myself as a voter is that I have a tendency, particularly in presidential elections, to choose all from the same party. For one, it's easier to do that, but two, I just forget to research candidates that aren't the presidents. And one of the ways that I think that I could get better about not just doing that and having more informed opinions about all of the candidates is using websites like michigan.gov or vote.gov to get some more specific information on the candidates that I'm voting on. One of the other things that I've noticed is that I often don't think about elections until they actually arrive. For the entire year or for presidential elections, 4 years, I'm not really thinking that much about the next election. I'm thinking about the way things currently are and who we have, but not about who is coming up. And one of the ways that I think that I could help to alleviate that problem is to participate in more non presidential elections. I think a lot of us have the tendency to not show up for these kind of midterms, senators, House of Representatives. But by participating in more of those, I'll have to more frequently be researching candidates. So by the time that a big presidential election with the many candidates that appear there rolls around, I'll have more information and I'll be better at finding that information online. The third thing that I've noticed about being a voter is that I have a hard time getting good information on topics. And I think that it's not necessarily entirely my fault that when sending out information about certain topics, news organizations might not tell specifically lies about things, but they have different perspectives and biases about why they report on different things and where they're coming from and what they believe. As evidence for that, a few weeks ago, I was researching the firing or the attempted firing of the Federal Reserve Governor, Lisa Cook. Here in this article from the BBC, we can see a fairly in depth article about how this is their perspective that it was an attack from the president on to Lisa Cook and how it was mostly a ploy to get leverage over the Federal Reserve. And they reference attacks on Jerome Powell that Donald Trump has done in the past. But then we also have an article like this from The Hill, which very much makes it seem like Lisa Cook is being obstinate and not following the orders of the president, and that she should be following the orders of the president, really, whether or not this whole thing has panned out, that at least in the short term, before she can prove her innocence, she should be stepping down because of the order from the president. Then we also have this X post from Jeffries, which shows that he thinks that this is more of a racial slash sexist issue on behalf of Donald Trump, that he is intentionally targeting her because of the intersectionality of her uh, of being a black woman, being in fact the first black woman in her position. And I something I can do to be better at this is that we should be evaluating sources of information, like is it a good source, but also not just finding one good source of information, but gathering information from multiple sources to see what is the narrative that's being built around this, why are people reporting it certain ways, and what is really the heart of the issue.